had that moment, that moment where you ask your dog to do something, anything, and then they do like the exact opposite of what I had it just the other day. Look, I caught it, but it was another Gunther moment. If you're aware of it and know Gunther, my 9-month-old German Shepherd adolescent, light of my life, he had that moment where I knew he was going to make the choice too. I knew he was going to make the choice, and I was like, he was heading, it was like, I let him out. All I wanted him to do was go to the bathroom, and then he had to come back in because I had stuff I had to do. And he went up to the one area, which is the same area that we go for a walk. And he was there, and I was like, uh-oh. And I said to him, like, Gunther. And then he literally was like, nope. And he turned and he went partway up the hill, and then he stopped and he was like, are you coming? And I was like, Gunther. When you do that, like closed mouth, like Gunther. And, anyway, you've all been there. You know what I'm saying. You've been there, right? Where you see them make choices and they're the wrong choices. And you're like, are you serious right now? Like, are you for real right now? You know this. Well, my friend, what if I told you that in many of those circumstances, those frustrating moments, in many of those circumstances, what if your dog actually isn't wrong, but they're answering the question you didn't even know you asked? What? I know. What if that is the case? Because that's right. Today on the podcast, we are talking about why your dog might not be actually ignoring you and how they might be responding perfectly, just not to what you think you're saying. If you ever had that dog that quote unquote knows better but didn't listen, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Hey there, friend. It's Tracy, and I just wanted to personally invite you to join me over in the Fearless Framework. It is my 12-month online program where you get to connect with incredible dog lovers like you and me, hang out together, learn to understand what our dogs are saying, to share all of our wins and all of our foibles. Did I say that right? Foibles? Anyway, it's a great community, a great place, and a fantastic price. For 12 months hanging out, you cannot go wrong. Go to beyondobedience.ca/fearless, and I'll see you there. Well, hello, my dog-loving friend. It is Tracy. Welcome to Beyond Obedience, the podcast. Super duper welcome if you are brand new. Oh, goodness, I am so glad you are here. You, my friend, are smack dab in the middle of a series, the series that I like to call Conversations with Your Dog. Now, in most places where you're learning about dog stuff, there's a lot of focus on like looking at the dog, understanding body language and stress signals, and always observing your dog's behavior and what does this mean and what does that mean, and that's all great. But it takes two to tango, and it certainly takes two to have a conversation. And I like to focus on what is our part of the conversation. What are the things that we're saying? Beyond obedience, beyond our commands. There's things that we're commanding our dogs to do, but did you know that you are having conversations all the time with your dog through your daily movements, how you move through space, how you feel, all of those things, they matter to your dog, and they all add up to conversations that honestly, if you aren't paying attention, you might be sending some mixed signals. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about that. So there you go. So that's what we're talking about. This is episode 3 in the series. Episode 3 in the series, I believe. Yes, let me count in my head, looking up. I think this is the third one. All right. So let's get into it. Because if you are someone like me that is interested in stuff like this, or you've just had a moment, because spring, am I right? It's spring. It's spring. Springtime means your dog doesn't have to listen to you anymore. That's what spring means. I think that's what spring means to most dogs. So like, you don't have to pay attention to humans anymore because there's too many scents, and we don't have time. We don't have time for that, dogs. So that's what's going on, at least in my house. And if you've ever been in that space where you've asked your dog to do something and they've done like the exact opposite, and you've thought to yourself, come on, man, you know this, like, you know what you're supposed to do, or you've done it 100 times the right way. Why now are you not? What if I told you? What if I told you that your dog isn't wrong? And what if I told you that they're not being a bad dog? What if I told you that they're not being a punky brat? I used to be one of the dog trainers that used to say that. I used to be like, your dog's being bratty or snotty or pushy or whatnot. And, well, I'm looking up in the air. I try not to say it anymore because I've learned to look at dogs through a different lens now, that they're not necessarily intentionally trying to be stubborn, or they're not just trying to push your buttons, or they're not broken in some way. What if by chance they're actually responding, like, accurately, but they might be just not responding to the thing you think you're asking? And I think this happens more often than we would like to admit, because here's the thing, right? Dogs are always in conversation with us. They are masters at observation and reading all sorts of things when it comes to communication and conversations. But the question actually becomes, are we aware? Are we actually aware of what we're saying? Because as I mentioned at the beginning, there's so many groups and support things and books on how to understand your dog's body language. But how many books are out there to understand how your body language is communicating to the dog? How many people are actually putting the focus on what is your body language saying? Because if you're reading their body language or trying to learn their body language, do you not think they're learning our body language? Do you not think they're picking up on patterns and all of the nuances of our body language to understand how to live with a different species? Dang right they are. Consider yourself in that same situation. If you were plopped into a brand new world, almost brand new world with a species that you don't quite understand. They're kind, they're friendly, they feed you, they do all these things, but you don't really quite understand them. You don't speak their language. You are darn Skippy going to be picking up on darn Skippy. What? Sometimes I say things and I'm like, where did darn Skippy come from? You bet your bottom dollar that you would be also picking up on nuances, on tone, on energy, on body language. You would be picking up patterns of all the things of this species so that you can exist in this space safety and survival and all of that stuff. You would be doing the exact same thing. So it behooves us. This language that's coming out of my face today, I don't know. I don't even know. It behooves us. Is that actually the right word? Hold up. This is happening real time. I'm asking ChatGPT.
When we say it behooves you, we mean that it's in your best interest, or it's a responsibility or duty. Basically, it's something you really ought to do because it will benefit you, or it's the right thing to do.
Well, snap. There you go. There you have it. Sometimes words just come out of my face. I don't even know if they're the right words, but that works. It behooves us. I don't even know what I was talking about now. Oh my gosh. It behooves us to start to pay attention to what are we saying? What are the things that we're actually saying? Because we communicate on some levels here. Like, we communicate with our words. Those are the things you say. And that's what we have to teach That's what we have to teach our dogs. That's what obedience is. It's English as a second language. We're teaching them when we say these words, I need you to do this thing. Those are words that we say, right? But we also show our dogs with our body language. We can show our dogs, and that's why I get people to practice this. I'm going to talk about more of this in the end, but that's why I get people to practice actually intentionally using your body language, because that's showing the dog what it is that you're saying. And then finally, and the lesser known or lesser thought about area of communication is your energy. It's how you feel. So you have the things you say, the things you show, and the way that you feel. All of that combined are things that the dog is picking up at all times. Whether or not you think you're talking to them or not, you are, and your dog is picking up on that. But here's where the disconnect sometimes happens, because dogs prioritize that a little bit differently, right? Out of those things, they're going to probably prioritize energy first. They're going to feel that first. They're going to smell. I talked about this a lot, but they're going to smell your chemical scent of how you're feeling. Then they're probably going to follow your body language. They're going to see like how you're feeling, how you're moving through space, the energy that you're bringing to it. And then on top of that, then last but not least, they're going to listen to your words. But that's the last thing that they do. So in competition with all the other things that the dog is interested in, words are last. So it makes sense for that example that I had at the beginning, that makes sense that in springtime, with the smell of thawing horse poop in the field and the crisp air, the smell of dog poop thawing in the warm sun. I mean, I was trying to make it poetic. It's not. That Gunther is going to struggle to find those words in all of the different ways of communication, right? It's going to get lost in the energy and the smells and all of those things, right? So the bottom line is your dog feels you before they see you, and they see you before they hear you. So that means there's a lot of other communication going on that your dog's going to pick up first. And quite often, our words are in direct conflict to those other things. Quite often our words are in direct conflict to how we feel. Take the Gunther example, for example, right? And we've all done this. You know, when you call them the first time and the dog stops and looks at you, it's almost worse when they look at you. Like, for reals, if the dog's already full running, like they're running in the opposite direction, and you call their name, there's a part of you that knows they're not going to turn around. Like, you know, there's a part of you that knows that at a level. You're like, this isn't going to work. So you're not quite as upset. At least I'm not. But it's when they turn. It's when you say their name and they turn and look at you that you're like, now you're making a choice. And if you're like the pick me girl, like pick me, choose me over all the sense. So that moment where you're like, here I am sitting at the bottom of the hill and he's just up halfway up the hill. And I'm like, Gunther. And he's like, see ya, sucker. And he turns. The moment that he did that, my emotional response was, oh man. And the next way that I said it and my body language would have changed, right? It would have changed from like, please come, to get over here now. But I'm still saying the words like just saying Gunther or come with a question mark, come with a question mark. And what happens in that moment is the words and my energy and my body language don't add up. And when our words and our body language and our energy do not add up, it adds confusion, which increases the likelihood that the dog will not listen to you. Right? And what they might be listening to is your energy and your body language, which is now frustrated, angry. And so when they run away, that makes sense, doesn't it? That makes perfect sense to me. If my energy and my body language is like, I'm really angry at you, why would you come back to that? Even though my voice or my words are trying to still sound positive, because we've been told, like, make sure that you're happy that your dog just gave you the doggy finger and took off. Be happy about it. And you're like, there's no way you can. But there's also no way that you can fake it. You can't fake it. Because remember, those words come last. This was actually really, really highlighted, that's the word, highlighted to me back in the day. Oh, how long ago would it have been? It doesn't matter. It was a while ago. It was before I moved here. So I've been here for 8 years. So it was 10 years ago, let's say. And I decided to do agility with Rue, my Australian Shepherd. And I still remember, like, we were doing pretty good. Like Rue was very eager to please, very biddable, all of that stuff. But we're doing some things. She was obviously way better than I was. Let's just put it that way. She was way better at agility than I was. And I still remember to the day, because I was like, I'm getting it. And we were going, like, we went through the tire, and then we went over a jump. And then I had to tell her to go through the tunnel. And she had gone through the tunnel, like, on its own. Like, this is where we were piecing together the obstacles in order. So we had done every individual one, but now we were putting like 2 together and then 3 together. So now we had done tire, jump, and then I had to send her into the tunnel. And she knew it. She knew tunnel. She knew the whole thing. And we get over that jump, and I say tunnel. And I know I did it in the right amount of time. Like I didn't, sometimes your timing's off or whatnot. I did everything fine. And she went to go in the tunnel. Last minute, all of a sudden, she leaps on top of the tunnel, which, as we found out, isn't as solid as you would think. So, of course, the tunnel's kind of making all this weird stuff. Kind of startles her. I'm like, what is going on? So I'm like, okay. So I go back. She gets off the tunnel. I go back, and we just loop around to just the jump and the tunnel, right? We didn't go back to the beginning. We just went jump and then tunnel. So I was like, come on, let's try it again. And the same thing happened again. And I was like, what is going on with you? Like, I am 100% saying tunnel. So I did it one last time just in front of the tunnel. I brought her back to the front of the tunnel, and I said tunnel. And that time she went through. And I turned to my friend Sharon, who was the agility instructor, and I was like, what's going on there? And she said, oh, you're raising your hand. And I was like, what are you talking about? She said, right at the very end, when you do your hand signal, your hand is coming up ever so slightly in the air, and she's following your hand. And I was like, that can't be true. She said, no, it's 100% true. She said, that's why when you're standing right in front of it and you're not moving, your hand just went to the tunnel. She went in it. But when you're moving, because I'm running and I'm doing the hand signal while I'm running, my hand automatically came up. And she said it so nonchalantly, like, oh, it's you. And I was like, that's rude. But also, I had to think about it. And it was true. And it amazed me how much that dog, like, even though I was focused on saying the word tunnel with enough time for that word to hit her brain and know to go in the tunnel, Rue was still following my body language, because it really is a team sport. Like, I mean, if you haven't done agility and you want to find a good way to do team sport, do agility. Like, find beginner agility. It's a ton of fun. You'll figure out that you are not in shape. If you're anything like me, you'll be like, I am not in shape to do it. But regardless, but that really showed me this idea that, I was focused on the words that I say. This dog was following my body language. She was following my legs. She was following my hand signals. She was following everything like that. And I wasn't aware of what I was saying, that tiny little, microscopic hand movement changed what she was doing. So here I was thinking she was doing it wrong. Meanwhile, she was completely like following my hand, like in such a subtle way. Like, and then when I thought about it, I was like, that means that, when I'm working with her, not in the agility ring and just in everyday life, I could use very subtle hand gestures to have her, like, when we get connected like that, when we're really in the zone together, like, she could be able to follow microscopic hand gestures, which is kind of cool, right? Like, you can reframe all of this to be like, it can be the thing that drives you crazy, or it can be the thing that is amazing about your relationship. Anyway, bottom line is lots of conversations going on. So the real problem is when we focus on commands and we focus on, like, sit means sit and come means come, and dogs are learning the words the way we think they are, that's fine in those isolated moments of the training, right? When we're just focused on just the training, like for when I was in agility, I was focused on teaching her how to do the tunnel. I'd say the word tunnel, then I would put my hand in to show her where that tunnel was, blah, 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 right? But in the motion of it all, when things got more complicated for me, right, I wasn't paying attention to what my body language was saying. And my body language was saying something different than my words. But I think she should just be focusing on the words. Why? Because we are language dominated. Like that's what we focus on, is the actual words that come out of our mouth. Meanwhile, their dogs are reading the movement and intention and all the emotion and everything else that goes along with it. So your dog may not speak English or and you're teaching them English as a second language, but I guarantee you this, my friend, they are fluent in you. They are fluent in you. They understand your moods and your emotions and all of those things because they're studying you every single day and you're speaking to them every single day, right? And this is why when I'm working with, people in the student community or working with people one-on-one, I often talk about this idea of, when we practice ask the dog, right? The exercise of asking the dog. I'm asking people to start using their hand gestures, tapping on things, pointing, waving their arm to ask a dog to move this way or ask a dog to move that way. And the reason for that is because dogs are one, and I don't know if they're the only one. I should have looked that up. But dogs are one of the, I'm going to say few species. I could ask chat again if you want. Should we? Why not? Why not? Let's find out. Hey there, I call my chat Janet. Does anyone else name their chat? I got that from The Good Place. Anyone else watch The Good Place? Anyway, Janet, dogs are one of the few species that actually follow human pointing. Is there any other species that does that?
You're absolutely right about dogs. Interestingly, some other species do this too. For example, many great apes, like chimpanzees and bonobos, can follow human pointing. Even dolphins have shown an ability to understand human gestures, including pointing. It's a neat example of interspecies communication.
Okay, but what about cats?
Cats generally don't follow pointing as readily as dogs do. They tend to focus on the end result, like the object itself, rather than the gesture. That said, some cats can learn, especially if they associate it with something they want, like food or a toy.
Cats, am I right? All right. Thank you, Janet. So there you go. So there are some other species, but I mean, who's got pet dolphins? I don't know. You're not out there talking to your pet great ape, I hope. So there you go. Dogs are like, that's one of the amazing things about them. So one of the things that I ask my students to do is to utilize your hand gestures, not in the way that you have in the past, where if you've associated a hand gesture, like your hand up in front of you means wait, that kind of thing. Not in that way, but in a way that is like, can you come this way? And you point. Can you come towards me? And you open up your body language. And the reason for that is to actually make you, I tell you, the dogs already know what it means. It's for you to start being more aware of your body language, of how you are speaking to the dog. Because if we're talking about making sure that we're communicating properly with our dogs, we want to make sure that the words that we say match up with the energy that we feel, match up with the body language that we are currently showing. And quite often there is a huge disconnect between those three. And I focus a lot on that, especially when we're talking about reactivity or fearful dogs, focusing in on what is your body saying. Right? What is your body saying in this situation? And it's very, very important, because if we're trying to build trust with another species, we need to let that dog know that I see that threat, that I have what it takes to handle it. Quite often, we do really silly things where we see a threat to the dog, and instead of turning and facing the threat, which would show the dog, I see the threat and I've got it, we turn our back on the threat, and instead we give the dog food to make them feel better about the thing. Meanwhile, your dog's like, if you've got this under control, why are you turning your back on a threat? You would never in survival things in any other situation would you turn your back on a threat. And yet we do it all the time. So our words say one thing, our body language says another thing, and our energy and how we feel about it says a completely different thing. So when we have that incongruency with all of the different languages that our dogs are used to seeing us in, that destroys the trust, and they can't trust us in that moment. In that moment, let me just get that. Like, you have to think about every single opportunity that you have to go out and be with your dog is an opportunity to either earn trust or break trust. Right? So you get to choose that, but that starts with actually being aware of, how am I feeling about this right now? What is my body language saying? And then, does that match what I'm saying? Does that match the words that I'm saying? Because the words don't matter as much as you think. Does that make sense? I mean, you ever hear that saying? What's that saying? Your words are saying one thing, but your face is saying another. Have you ever heard that? I'm one of those people where my face shows everything. Like, I'm not great at hiding my emotions. But dogs experience that all the time. Your words are saying one thing, but your body language and your energy is saying something else. And if they can't, if those things don't fit, they can't trust you. And if they can't trust you, they're not going to listen to you. Okay? And that's where true leadership comes in. We have to be clear and consistent and predictable in all of the ways we're communicating with the dog. That has to be congruent for the dog to feel safe with the things that you're saying. So it's not about saying more. It's about being easier to understand. So next time your dog gets it wrong, quote unquote wrong, I want you to pause, and instead of correcting them, I want you to say, how interesting. What did I just ask them to do in all three of those areas? Okay? So if you like this kind of thing, my friend, this is exactly the kind of stuff that we talk about inside the Fearless Framework. This is the kind of thing that when my students give me video, oh gosh, I love video. I love video. When my students give me video and they're like, this is what my dog is reacting and this is what I did, and we can slow it down and we can kind of step out of the frame. We can take the student, step them out of the frame and go, see what your body language did right there. And it can be something subtle. Like, this is what I'm saying. This isn't your fault. Like, you have to start to be really aware of things, but it can be something subtle, like your shoulder turned in, right? Your shoulder turned in, and that gave the dog the opportunity to move into that space, right? So much fun stuff happens inside the Fearless Framework. If you really want to get in there and start to understand your dog's mind, how to build trust, how to build clarity, how to understand how you are communicating every single day with your dog, you got to get in there. Got to get into the Fearless Framework, because that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing inside. All right. So there you go. I hope that kind of helps. This idea, once again, that your dog actually is answering a question. It's just a question you didn't even know you asked. You said things you didn't even know you asked, and that's what they're answering. And in the Gunther example at the very, very beginning, the moment that I changed and my body language changed to, oh no, because it was like, I don't have time for this. You ever have that? Like, I don't have time for this right now. This isn't funny. I don't have time for this. The moment that changed was when he was like, I don't really want to come back to you now. Like, and it's sad. If I replay it, I mean, he did eventually come back, and then I praised the bejesus. I praised him so much, because I even said to him, I was like, I realized in that moment, that was a hard choice for you to make. It was a hard choice for you, not because of the smells and all the wonderfulness of spring. It was a hard choice because I know that my intent and my body language betrayed me in that moment. And my dog was like, fun smells or unstable human, which way should I go? And he still chose me. And I was like over the moon ecstatic with that dog. Like, I was like, And even Paisley, because she watched the whole thing from the house, she was like, oh man, I thought he was going to go. I'm like, he was about to go. Like, he was about to be like, no. And I said, last minute, he changed his mind. And I was so, so grateful. But it was because I knew the mistake I made. I'm like, I made a mistake here. The moment the thought dropped in my head of, I don't have time for this right now, that's when I lost that conversation. That was the moment. Minuscule second. That's when I lost that moment. And he gave me enough space to turn that around in the last second. Like, he had just enough space for me to go, oh, come on, like to correct it enough for him to be like, yeah, all right, I'll come back to you. And then when he came back, like, there's celebration when recall comes. Like, when they come, when recall comes, when you recall a dog and they come, and we always say, like, be really happy about it. Always be happy when your dog comes back. I was beyond happy. Like, I was like, you blew my mind there, buddy. Because honestly, I didn't deserve to have you come back. That's what I thought. I didn't deserve. Like, if I had to like go put my boots on and go up the field and go get him, I would have been like, yeah, that's on me. But he made a choice, and it was the right choice. So there you go. There you go. I hope that makes sense. All right. I think that's it for me today, my dog loving friend. Listen, if you like this kind of stuff, can you do me a big favor and head on over to Apple, leave me a 5-star written review. It really helps push this podcast out to more and more people. And if you're on Spotify, be sure to follow me over there, as well as leave me a comment. Get into the free Facebook group, say hello over there. And as always, get out there today, my dog loving friend, and be the person that your dog thinks you are, because your dog thinks that you are amazing. And so do I. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only. It's not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you're really struggling with your dog, please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.